Hello and welcome to Arnie's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The White Lady of Freshwater. The first time Holly Arnold saw the White Lady, it was just after dusk. She had been walking along the windswept cliffs of Freshwater Bay, the sea below roaring with an untamed ferocity. The locals had warned her never linger near the cliffs after dark, she doesn't like visitors. But Holly, ever the skeptic, brushed off their warnings as mere folklore. Freshwater's charm had drawn her in the quaint village streets, the ancient church whose steeple pierced the misty sky, and, most of all, the cliffs. Their stark beauty held a magnetic pull, and Holly often found herself drawn to their edge, where the air was thick with salt and the promise of something unseen. Yet the cliffs carried an unshakable weight, an eerie silence that lingered even when the wind howled. That night, as the horizon swallowed the last sliver of the sun, Holly's camera hung heavy around her neck. She had come to document the landscape for a photography series, hoping to capture the soul of the Isle of Wight. But as she framed her next shot, a flicker of movement caught her eye. There she was. A woman in white stood near the cliff's edge, her figure luminous against the twilight. Her dress billowed as though stirred by an otherworldly breeze, and her long, dark hair cascaded down her back. Holly froze, her pulse quickening. The woman's face was obscured, turned toward the sea, but her posture spoke of profound sorrow. The atmosphere thickened, and the crashing waves seemed to fall into an unnatural rhythm, synchronized with Holly's racing heartbeat. Holly raised her camera instinctively and snapped a photo. The shutter's click seemed to echo louder than it should have, breaking the fragile stillness of the moment. The woman's head turned sharply. Holly gasped. The White Lady's face was pale as moonlight, her eyes bottomless voids that seemed to swallow the last of the day's light. Those eyes locked onto Holly, and a chill spread through her body, anchoring her to the spot. Then she vanished. The next morning, Holly couldn't shake the image of the ghostly figure. She developed the photo in the makeshift darkroom she'd set up in her rented cottage, her hands trembling as the image took shape. The White Lady was there, as vivid as Holly had seen her, but the edges of her form seemed blurred, as if she were part of the mist. The photograph had an unnatural clarity, and as Holly stared at it, she could have sworn she heard the distant sound of weeping. Determined to uncover the truth, Holly visited the local library. The librarian, an elderly man named Mr. Hewitt, raised an eyebrow when she inquired about the White Lady. "Well, you've seen her, then?" he asked. "And I think so." "Huh?" Mr. Hewitt sighed and pulled out the leather-bound tome from behind the counter. Her name was Elena Gray, A Tragic Tale. As Holly flipped through the pages, she learned of Elena, a young woman from the 19th century who had fallen deeply in love with a sailor named Thomas. Their love was passionate but forbidden, for Elena's father had promised her to another, a wealthy landowner. Desperate to be together, Elena and Thomas planned to elope. But on the night of their escape, Thomas's ship was lost in a sudden storm, dashed against the very cliffs where they had vowed to meet. Stricken with grief, Elena threw herself into the sea. Her body was never found, but locals claimed her spirit lingered, searching eternally for her lost love. That evening, Holly returned to the cliffs. She carried with her a lantern and a small bouquet of wildflowers, unsure of why she felt compelled to bring them. The moon cast an ethereal glow over the landscape, and the wind carried a mournful wail, as though the cliffs themselves grieved. The closer she came to the edge, the heavier the air felt, as if an unseen force was trying to turn her away. Holly's every step seemed to echo, louder and louder, until the sound melded with the relentless crash of the waves below. As midnight approached, the temperature plummeted. Holly's breath fogged the air, and her hands trembled as she set the lantern down. The beam of light swayed, casting long shadows across the rocks. Then she felt a presence, cold and electric, as if someone were standing just behind her. "Adelina," she whispered. The ghost stepped forward, emerging from the mist. The White Lady's sorrowful eyes fixed on Holly, their depths filled with an agony centuries old. Holly's legs threatened to buckle under the weight of that gaze, but she held her ground. "I brought these for you," Holly said. Her voice trembled, but her intent was sincere. Elena's expression softened, her eyes shimmering with something that looked like gratitude. She reached out, her translucent fingers brushing the petals. For a brief moment, Holly felt a wave of overwhelming sadness, as if Alina's grief had passed through her. "He's waiting for you," Holly said. They felt foreign, yet right. Alina's gaze lifted toward the horizon, where the sea met the sky. A faint, glowing figure appeared in the distance, a sailor with arms outstretched. Alina's face lit up with joy, and without another word, she began to walk toward him. Her form grew fainter with each step until she dissolved into the night, leaving only the wildflowers behind. The next day, Holly revisited the cliffs. The air felt lighter, the sea calmer. She stood at the edge, her camera in hand, and took one final photo. When she developed it later, she saw nothing unusual, just the cliffs, the sea, and the sky. But in the corner of the frame, nestled among the rocks, lay a single, undisturbed wildflower. And for the first time since she'd arrived, Holly felt truly at peace. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.